Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are listening to Where Do I Fit? This is a production of Warriors Heart USA and Power to Change. And I'm Bob Bauer, your host for about the next 20 minutes. And I'm also the founder and president of Warriors Heart USA and Power to Change. This is actually our promotion for this program that we're going to produce and drop every Friday about 2 o'clock. What we're going to do is we're going to act as a compass for those who are in transition, veterans, first responders, and their families. We're going to try and provide you, actually our goal is to provide you with information that will help you navigate through those traumatic minefields of life. Let me ask you this question as we move forward. Have you ever felt like you didn't fit? Ever wonder why you were here? Or if anybody ever cared? Let me share with you a story that I usually tell when I have the privilege of speaking to different groups. I call it the man in the hole. You see, there was this guy that was dealing with a lot of trauma in his life. He was a tough guy. You know, been in the military, seen combat, feared for his life, watched his friends, his buddies, his cohorts lose their lives, lose their limbs, lose their sanity. He came home. And when he did, he got a job. He became a cop. Now, he could have very easily become a firefighter, a medic, a paramedic, could have been a dispatcher, could have been a coroner, could have been an emergency room technician, emergency room doctor, but he became a cop. See, all those I mentioned are those who deal with trauma. As he transitioned into the civilian world from the military world and from war, he found himself slipping into a hole. It's not your typical hole that he was slipping into. It was an emotional hole. You see, he was finding himself getting angry very easy. Finding himself engaging in arguments with his wife, with his children, with his friends, with his family, even at work. He didn't know why he was angry, but he really began to look for somebody to blame. It wasn't his fault that he was angry all the time. And if you're a cop, you all know the names that we used to use to identify people on the street. Or our bosses. He wasn't sure what was going on. But then he found himself, he was unable to sleep at night because you see the demons came to visit him. The demons from the battlefield. Come in reminding him of the trauma he experienced watching a buddy shot on patrol and die. Watching another friend drive over an IED, blow up, his body just pulverized. He had those images deeply embedded into his subconscious, and they were coming back to him at night. He couldn't sleep, suffering from sleep deprivation. In fact, he was afraid to sleep because of those demons. So he was angry. He was depressed, dealing with anxiety, and then the things he dealt with every day on the job. He was watching his world collapse around him, and he knew that he could no longer do this by himself. He had to swallow his pride, and he had to reach out for help. So, as he sat in his hole, he heard a group of people walking past him, And he looked up, and it was a group of professional people, those smart ones with their degrees and, those high-paying jobs and, those people who kind of know it all. So he started screaming and yelling, help me, please help me. I need your help me. Well, one of the men in the group stepped away and came over and talked to him, and this guy explained to him what he was dealing with. He says, look, I'm stuck in this hole and I really need your help to get out. You see, I can't sleep at night because the demons keep coming back and haunting me. Because I can't sleep, I'm constantly tired. I'm suffering from sleep deprivation. And because I'm tired, I'm always angry. I'm always on edge. I can't eat. I can't sleep. I can't think. I'm fighting with my wife all the time over stupid stuff. I'm fighting with my kids over crazy stuff. I'm arguing with my family, my friends, and my boss. My world is collapsing around me. Please help me get out of this hole. Well, this professional stepped away from him for a minute and went back to confer with his friends. And he came back. But when he was returning, in his hand he had a shovel and a bucket. And he looked at this man in the hole and he says, we believe that you have the talent and the skill to do this on your own. You are able to dig yourself out of this hole. This is something that you can do on your own. But what we want to do is we want to give you some resources in order to help you achieve your goal. Here is a bucket and here is a shovel. And with that, the man walked away. The guy really bought the hype. He really bought into the pep talk. And he began to vigorously dig deep into this hole and dig and dig and dig and dig until finally he was exhausted. And he sat down on the bucket and he goes, I can't do this on my own. They lied to me. At this point, as he's sitting on the bucket, he draped the shovel across his lap, and here he felt betrayed. These people sold him a bill of goods is what he thought, and he was just totally dejected, exhausted, feeling helpless. And then he heard another set of voices walking by. These voices sounded familiar to him, and when he popped his head up, it was his family, and it was his friends, and he thought to himself, these people care about me. They will help me. So he began to holler at them, help me, please help me. One of the family members stepped away from the group and came over and talked to him, and he explained to him his dilemma of his sleepless nights, his anger, uncontrolled anger, his depression, his anxiety. And he said, please help me, please. You're the only ones that can help me. This family member listened attentively and stepped away and went back and talked to the rest of the family. And amongst their conversations, they said to themselves, we don't really want to get involved because we don't know what we're doing. We might make things worse. It's probably better for him to listen to the professionals. So this person stepped back over to him and said, hey, look, we believe you should really listen to those professionals and use the tools that they gave you. Because after all, if you put on your big boy pants and pull yourself up by your bootstraps, tomorrow will be another day. And they walked away. The man really felt like someone shoved a knife into his heart, and he sat back down on his bucket. Now he's feeling rejected by the people he counted on the most. His pain began to lie to him, whisper in his ear, fella, nobody cares. Nobody wants to be part of your life. You'd be better off dead. In fact, nobody will even miss you after you're dead. And he began to make his plan to end his pain. Well, soon he heard another voice. And he looked up, and it happened to be the medical professionals. And this time he was just waving a single hand to get their attention. He no longer had the energy nor the enthusiasm to ask for help. But he was waving the hand, and soon one came from the group and came over and asked how they could help him. What was his needs? And he explained to them his dilemma, his problem, and how he had reached out for help to others, and they either didn't want to or they didn't know how to. Well, the medical professional didn't promise him that they could fix his problem or solve his issues. But they said, you know what we'll do is we will do an analysis. We will do an evaluation of your situation, and then we will give you our professional opinion on how to proceed. They poked, they prodded, they did their thing. And they came back and they told this man, they said, you know, unfortunately, we can't help you with your problem. There's nothing we can do to help you get rid of your problem. But you know what we can do is we can help you acclimate to your problem. And with that, they gave him a handful of pills and they told him there was an endless supply. He began to take the pills. He had a flat affect. He no longer had ambition to try and correct his problem, had no ambitions to move forward in life. He felt hopeless, helpless, and all alone. This is what was sad. Now, he was going to end his pain. But as he sat in this hole, feeling completely dejected and rejected, he heard someone walking down the street whistling. And he got angry. How can anyone be so happy when I'm so miserable? How dare they? And then he heard, hey, young fella, how you doing? The guy looked up out of his hole and he thought, so you want to know how I'm doing? So he told him. He laid it all out before the old guy and he shared with him his story, his pain. And he told him, he says, I'm done. I'm ready to end this pain. There's no hope for me any longer. And with that, he dropped his head, his chin bouncing off his chest. And then he heard a thud. And that thud, he looked up. And in shock, the old man was standing before him. A twinkle in his eye, something he hadn't seen in a long time. But he got angry. He said, you old fool, what are you doing in this hole? Didn't I just tell you I'm stuck in this hole and I didn't know the way out? And now we're both stuck in the hole. And about that time, the old man popped up a little grin on his face and a tear trickling down his cheek. He said, young fella, I've been in this hole. I know how to get out. Come on, follow me. Now, folks, that story has an element of truth to it. And as a result, that's what Warriors Heart USA is all about. We're about mentorship, fellowship, and discipleship. We are about bringing the message of hope to the masses. About providing resources to churches and organizations on those who work with veterans, first responders, and their families, those that are navigating through the traumatic minefields of life to find a life that's more meaningful. And we intend on reversing the crisis of addiction, suicide, the demise of marriages. We are going to share our experiences with you, because you're not alone. And in sharing our experiences with you, we're going to provide what we believe are solutions with resources. You see, I've been through those minefields. And many of the people that will be on this program over the time have been through those minefields. We know where they're at. We know where the mines are at. We will be the compass to help guide you through it. We know the pain of loneliness. We know the pain of hopelessness and helplessness. So I invite you to tune in every Friday at 2 o'clock. We're going to be on our YouTube channel and we're going to post on Facebook. And we also have a website. It's PWR, the number 2, CHG.net. Power to Change, where we will have a schedule for the program on there as well. We're going to talk about projects that we're involved in right now. We're actually walking the walk and talking the talk. So, I invite you to join us every Friday at 2 o'clock on Where Do I Fit? Remember, a man's soul is worth fighting for.